Really good. Hi, this is Sarah Trott, and I'm here with my co-host Esther Gallagher. And today we're going to be talking with our special guest, Britt Fohrman, who's a returning guest, someone who we're really excited to have back on the show. And as a refresher or an update for anyone who hasn't heard Britt talk previously, she has 20 years of experience as a doula, a yoga teacher, a birth educator, and a pleasure coach. And she's supported 500 births and counting. And she's really helped countless parents prepare and recover from their postpartum journey. So we're really thrilled to have you back again, Britt. And today we're talking about reconnecting with their body and using yoga to help support that process. And Esther, what would you like to add to our intro?
Well, I've known of and known Britt for a pretty long time, since being introduced or recruited to join her and her cohort at the original San Francisco doula group, and just have followed her trajectory over all these many years. So we've had kind of parallel existences. And yeah, she's come up with some pretty fun and I think outside the mainstream, thank goodness, approaches to, supporting the community of mostly female-bodied people involved in this part of life. So yeah, here we are on the podcast. Yay!
Yeah, thank you.
And Britt is such a wonderful speaker. She'll be able to tell us wonderful, wonderful things about what she's up to more recently and how we can benefit from it. Take it away, Britt.
Yay! I'm so glad to be here. And yes, Esther, it's so wonderful to be in space with you, because you're right. It's been, probably 25 years that we've known each other and been in space together. And I love the birth community in San Francisco because it's so collaborative and not at all competitive, at least in my experience, and really about sisterhood and community and coming together to support pregnant and birthing and postpartum people. And so over the years have so loved sending my birth clients to Esther for postpartum care and, sharing a lot of people and getting to, collaborate around that. So this feels kind of like a homecoming in that way, where we're all here together to support people in the postpartum time, in the fourth trimester. So that's a lot of what I'm here to talk about today, and talking about yoga for your yoni.
Yay! Why don't you just launch right in and give us as deep a description as you can of what yoga for your yoni, what, when, and who yoga for your yoni is about.
Yeah. So, yoga for your yoni was conceived, I was saying this before, it was conceived through my course, Preparing Your Vagina for Birth, in that I really saw that people put a lot of energy into connecting with their bodies in a particular way leading up to during the birth, but really started to feel like there's more than what we do in the pregnancy, and we can take our practices into the postpartum time and into our whole lives. And the yoga is a really great way for us to come back into our bodies when, a lot of us go a little bit dormant in the postpartum time, energetically, sexually, in our pelvises. We have all kinds of things happen in our pelvises, and, prior to the pregnancy and birth, during the pregnancy and birth, and of course in the postpartum. So I created this course for all people with yonis. And I'd like to even just talk a little bit about what a yoni is and why I'm using that terminology. But just to say that it's really an exploration of getting embodied in your whole pelvic floor. So I used to call it, when I was teaching it in yoga studios, I would call it yoga for pelvic floor awareness. When I felt like I had to kind of like make it a little bit more like accessible for the mainstream, I felt like I couldn't talk specifically about the genitals, but excuse me, one second. But what I found is that this is a part of our bodies that many of us spend a lot of time being really disconnected from. So in addition to my own journey of working with pregnant and birthing people, I also had my own journey of pelvic pain, of my own yoni shutting down, of really not being able to even put in a tampon or a finger or have really painful vaginal exams anytime I went to the doctor, the nurse, the midwife. And I wasn't really getting what I needed from just like mainstream support, like from physical therapy, from any of the doctors that I saw. And so I started to come up with my own sort of holistic, multidimensional offering that was first just for me. And then it started to ripple out into working with the people that had already been in my community through my work in birth. And what I learned was that our yonis, otherwise known as your vagina, your vulva, your pussy, like, you can call it a lot of different things, and we'll talk about that. But that part of us has a consciousness, and that it's not just like this, it's not just like this hole in our body. It holds emotion. It holds wisdom. It holds magic and mystery and incredible power. And a lot of us miss that. And definitely standard medical care misses it by a long shot. And so I really wanted to create something that I could use to support myself and then to support all the people that I had been meeting through, my work as a yoga teacher and as a doula and eventually as a coach, where we could use the yoga practice, the breathing, the visualization, the relaxation, the movement, the stretching, the strengthening, to more fully feel at home in this part of our bodies, instead of feeling like there's some kind of dissonance or just complete disconnection, numbness, ignorance, all of that. So, I could talk about it forever, but I'm open to any questions you have.
Britt, I was just sitting here thinking about how instinctively connected to my yoni I was as kind of an awakening tween, and then teen, and then, pregnant person, new mother, and how fortunately in my trajectory through those ages and stages, there wasn't, while there were things, there wasn't much on balance that kind of came in to thwart that connection. And I realized looking back that I was able to kind of actively veer away from that which did, and towards that which was less likely to. And I'm probably a pretty rare bird in that, because
you certainly are.
it's not the story I hear very often. And having said that, if people heard my whole story, they'd realize, well, that was a balancing act throughout my life. And so I assume that's always true for everyone else, that, stuff happens and you have to process it, or you don't get to. And then, other stuff happens, and maybe it's healing and recovering, and maybe it's not. And so, yeah, I think that journey is lifelong, of course. And I think that, again, I'm a rare bird. I think that many, if not most in this culture, women don't have the opportunity or the circumstances or are in the environment or have the encouragement or any of the things that would be helpful for staying connected and embodied from toes to hair follicles, on this lifelong journey. So would you be willing to maybe visit some of the elements that come in culturally, socially, emotionally, clinically, etc., that you think might, ring a bell for people if they're like, yoga for my yoni, like why?
Yeah, I would love to. And I think that what you're talking about is one of the things that I think about so much is that our relationship with that part of our body, just like our relationship with our sexuality, changes at every stage of our lives. And we don't really have a lot of cultural acknowledgement of that this is like a living, breathing relationship, and that our sexuality is alive, that our yonis are alive, and so that's, a big part of what I'm, intending to accomplish in this course. So, okay. So just in let's start even just with the language. Okay. Because I think language is how we learn to connect, and it's how we tell stories. Okay. So the word vagina, as you know, Esther, is in and of itself a misogynistic and violent word. Okay. So the word vagina, for those of you that don't know, it means sheath, as in the pouch where